Every year, the world turns its eyes to this small, quiet town in the Swiss Alps, Davos. Looking from the outside, this place looks like a winter fairy tale, but it is actually the meeting point for the most powerful and wealthiest people on our planet. Heads of state, billionaire businesspeople, CEOs of technology giants, and the top names in the media. They all gather here for the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, or the WEF. Their official agendas always sound noble. Improving the state of the world, fighting climate change, reducing inequality. But what is really being discussed behind these closed doors, away from the cameras and the public eye, for our future? In the last few years, a concept leaking from these meetings has caused a storm all over the world. The Great Reset. And along with this concept comes a chilling slogan. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. This sentence sounds to many of us like it came out of a dystopian novel. Is it a promise or a threat? Is this a plan to make the world a better place, or is it the harbinger of a new world order managed by a global elite, the largest transfer of wealth and power in history? Today, we are going behind the curtain. We will try to decipher the vision of Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, the real agenda behind the Great Reset, and the codes of the future prepared for humanity. If you are ready, the reset begins. At the center of this story is a single name, Klaus Schwab. The German economist who founded the World Economic Forum in 1971. Schwab is an extremely connected and influential figure who has been at the center of global affairs for decades. His vision is based on the idea that today's biggest problems, climate change, pandemics, economic crises, can no longer be solved by individual countries. According to him, global problems require global solutions. The name of this solution is Stakeholder Capitalism. It may sound technical, but at its core, it contains a radical idea. According to this model, a company is not only responsible to its shareholders, that is, its owners. It is also responsible to its employees, its customers, society, and even the planet itself. It sounds great on paper, doesn't it? Who wouldn't want more responsible companies? However, critics raise the first red flag here. Who will decide to whom the companies will be responsible? Who will set the standards for this responsibility? The answer is the very people gathered in Davos. That is, an elite group of unelected technocrats, CEOs, and bureaucrats. Does this mean the concentration of economic power in the hands of a global elite, moving outside of democratic processes? Another key concept of Schwab is the Fourth Industrial Revolution, an era where technologies such as artificial intelligence, gene editing, and the Internet of Things will radically change our lives. Schwab says this revolution will change not only what we do but also who we are. This is a vision of a future where humans and technology merge, and our digital and biological identities intertwine. Is this an exciting advancement or a dangerous step taken for the control of human nature? And then 2020 came. The COVID-19 pandemic brought the whole world to a standstill. For millions of people, this was a period of tragedy, loss, and fear. But for Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, it also meant something else, a unique window of opportunity. Immediately after the pandemic, in June 2020, the WEF officially announced the Great Reset initiative. The timing was significant. In Schwab's own words, the pandemic showed us that our old systems are no longer fit for a new world, and offered a unique opportunity to renew, rethink, and reset all aspects of the world economy, social life, and policies. So, what did they want to reset? According to them, the plan was based on three main goals. First, to direct markets toward more fair outcomes. This meant higher taxes, wealth taxes, and more government intervention in the economy. Second, to ensure that investments are directed not only toward profitability but also toward new goals such as green and sustainable. Third, to use the innovations brought by the Fourth Industrial Revolution, especially artificial intelligence and digital technologies, for the public good. The famous slogan also emerged as part of this vision. In an article published on the WEF website, a future scenario for the year 2030 was drawn. In this scenario, a citizen said, "I own nothing. I don't have a car. I don't own a house. I don't have clothes or tools. Everything has turned into a service." This was the ultimate form of the sharing economy. A world where you have instant access to everything, waste is reduced, and environmental impact is minimized. It sounds like a utopia. But this utopia has a dark side. If you own nothing and have to rent everything, you become completely dependent on the companies and platforms that provide these services to you. They set the prices, they set the rules, and if you act out of sync with the system, they can deprive you of all these basic services with the press of a button. Ownership is one of the cornerstones of freedom. In a world where ownership disappears, can we talk about true freedom? From the moment the Great Reset was announced, it triggered a tsunami of conspiracy theories. Critics argued that this was a plan by a global elite to reshape the world in their own interests. So, are these criticisms just paranoia, or are concrete steps being taken to realize this vision? Let's look at 4 key concepts that can be called the Reset's Toolkit. The first tool: central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. This is not like the cryptocurrencies you know. This is digital money directly controlled by the state. Imagine a world where cash has completely disappeared. Every single expenditure you make can be instantly monitored by the government. More importantly, this money can be programmable. For example, the government can decide that your money can only be spent on certain products. Or it can force you to spend by putting an expiration date on your money. Did you attend a dissident protest? Perhaps your digital wallet is frozen instantly. CBDCs have the potential to offer states unprecedented power of control over their citizens. The second tool: digital identity. This concept, which entered our lives with the vaccine passport debates, is actually part of a much larger project. Imagine a system where all your personal information, your health records, bank accounts, travel history, social media activities, even your carbon footprint, is linked to a single digital identity. This identity could become mandatory to access services, travel, or even get a job. Is this a technology that makes life easier, or is it the first step for a global version of China's social credit system? The third tool: ESG scoring. Environmental, social, and governance. This is a system where companies are scored not only on their financial performance but also on their policies regarding issues such as climate change, social justice, and diversity. Giant investment funds like BlackRock direct billions of dollars of investment according to the ESG scores of companies. This situation forces companies to comply with a certain political and social ideology rather than making a profit. Is this an effort to make capitalism more responsible, or is it a social engineering project carried out through companies that suppresses freedom of thought and expression? The fourth tool: the crisis narrative. Global crises such as climate change and pandemics are real and should be taken seriously. However, according to critics, these crises are used as a tool to make radical and undemocratic changes, such as the Great Reset, acceptable to the public. In the name of saving the planet, or protecting public health, restrictions on freedom and economic controls that would normally never be accepted are justified. The saying, "never let a good crisis go to waste," turns into a strategy here. So, what should we think at the end of all this? The World Economic Forum and its supporters promise us a fairer, greener, and more equal future. According to them, the Great Reset is a bold and necessary step taken to rebuild a collapsing system in a way that will work better for humanity and the planet. On this path, making some sacrifices from individual freedoms and property rights is a small price to be paid for a greater good. On the other side, critics say this is the most dangerous power grab attempt in history. According to them, this is a plan by a global elite with no democratic accountability to establish total control over humanity using technology. The slogan, "You will own nothing and you will be happy," is a summary of this dystopian future. A passive, dependent humanity kept under constant surveillance. A world where even happiness is imposed on you from the outside. The truth probably lies somewhere between these two extremes. But one thing is certain. The changes brought by technology and globalization have brought us to a crossroads. The decisions we make will shape the future of humanity for decades to come. That's why we have to question. We must understand the real agenda behind the bright promises of the future presented to us. How much of our freedom are we ready to sacrifice in exchange for comfort and security? We have to watch more carefully than ever who holds the power and how they use it. Because, the Great Reset is not just an abstract concept discussed by economists and politicians. This is about your property, your privacy, your money, and ultimately your future. The reset button is on the table. The real question is, who will we allow to press that button, and when they do, what kind of world will be loaded? This decision belongs to all of us.